What is going on? I'm eating less, but I'm gaining weight and I just don't get it. Well, eating less may be causing you to gain weight, and we're going to dive into 7 reasons why you may be gaining weight from eating too little. Let's dive into today's episode. What is going on? Welcome to this week's episode of the Fit and Healthy Sioux Falls Show. I'm your host, CJ Workamp. And I tell you what, nutrition is so confusing. There's so many different things out there. I was actually just on the phone with a buddy of mine, and he is doing the carnivore diet. Apparently, let's see here, January is or was the National Carnivore Diet Month or something. I don't know. And so he's doing this diet. I got another guy I was talking to. He's doing, I think, what do they even call it? 1 meal a day, like one meal a day, like OMAD, 1 meal a day. I don't know. There's all these different things, intermittent fasting, carb loading, this and that, fasting, don't eat that. Man, you name it. And there's probably a diet for it. And so with that, nutrition can be confusing. But one of the things that goes way back in time, and I even remember my mom at times having this mentality, and it was kind of ingrained into her. And even at times now, I have to have conversations with her or with myself. I was actually having a conversation with my good buddy Mick just a week or so ago about this same exact thing, about how when you look in the mirror or you get on a scale or something and you have this feeling of maybe overwhelm of like, man, I'm not where I want to be with my health and my fitness, we instantly go to this feeling of I should eat less. If I eat less, then I'll weigh less. Or if I eat less, then I'll look better. And we are talking all about how that is such a false statement and it is such not truth. And so we're diving into 7 reasons you may be gaining weight from eating too little. And I have to remind myself this, I have to remind my mom this, I have to remind my friends this. And so I'm just thinking that today you and I can have this conversation about how eating little or eating less may not be the answer. And so if you're eating too little, we're going to go over 7 reasons why that might actually be causing you to gain weight or to not achieve the health and fitness goals that you have. And so we're going to dive into this thing with our first tip of today, which is it can slow your metabolism down. When you don't eat enough, what happens is your body will start to learn how to run off of less calories. And then if it runs off of less calories, that means that it doesn't have to burn as much to operate, and that can slow your metabolism down. And a metabolism, what that is that's your body taking the food that you eat and metabolizing it, which is turning that food then into energy and using it as energy. That's what your metabolism is. And if you eat less or don't eat enough for too long, what can happen is it can actually slow your metabolism down. And if your metabolism slows down, then you're not burning as many calories as you could be. So there's a thing out there. It's called the BMR, your basal metabolic rate. And your basal metabolic rate is how many calories you burn basically just being you, kind of at rest, not doing a whole lot. And that's your basal metabolic rate. And now what happens is that basal metabolic rate can start to drop, meaning that you're burning less and less calories just kind of at rest. And what we want is we want to have a BMR that is higher because that means it's burning more calories, meaning that you can fuel your body and eat more and it burns more just you being you. So if you eat too little, that can slow your metabolism down. And so tip kind of 1 of maybe why you're gaining weight from eating too little is that you might be slowing down your metabolism. Let's dive into maybe reason number 2 that you might be gaining weight from eating too little. and that is loss of lean muscle. You see, muscle and fat, your body has both. Even the most lean person that you know, they have fat on their body. We need fat on our body. But lean muscle on and stored on our body burns more calories than fat does. That muscle tissue burns more calories than fat tissue does. And if you're eating less, then what happens is a lot of times when you eat less, you definitely then are not getting enough protein. And protein is what feeds that lean muscle on your body. So you start to then, by eating less, you start to lose some of that lean muscle. And when you lose lean muscle, then what happens is your body just has the fat on it without that muscle. And so you're not burning as many calories because that fat tissue doesn't burn as many calories as that muscle tissue. So reason 2, maybe you're losing your lean muscle because you're not getting enough protein by eating too little. Reason 3, you're going to increase your fat storage. And what I mean by this is if you go too long of eating too little, what happens is you actually go into like a state of starvation where your body doesn't know what's going on, but it's not getting enough food to really operate the way that it was meant to. You see, food was originally meant for fuel, and it was meant to fuel your body. And so what's happening is if you're not getting enough food to properly fuel your body, what can happen then is you go into that starvation mode, and then you start to increase your fat storage because whenever you eat more than you are normally eating because you're eating so little, your body's like, ooh, I don't know when you're going to feed me again, so I'm going to go ahead and store that as fat. And then what happens is you store that as fat, whereas if you're always eating within the calorie range that you should be eating every single day, and you maybe eat a little bit too much, your body's like, oh, you overate. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of this. I don't need it because you are always eating the right amount. But if you're eating too little and you're not getting enough, then what happens is you do overeat. Your body's like, oh, that was great. I want to make sure I store that and hang on to that because I don't know when I'm going to get more food or more nutrition in me like that. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to store it as fat, and then that way your body will have more energy to pull from in the case that you don't feed me again. So reason 3, you might be actually increasing how much fat you're storing because you're not actually eating enough to allow your body to let go of the fat that it's holding on to. Reason 4, when you eat too little, it can cause hormonal changes. And hormones really kind of regulate and tell you when you're hungry or whether you're full or if you're satisfied. And so what can happen is if you eat too low of calories, then what happens is it can disrupt your hormones and it can cause you to always feel hungry, or it can cause when you do eat to not feel satisfied. So you want to make sure that you're getting a good amount of nutrition in you and a good variety of nutrition so that you can make sure that you're keeping your hormones in balance. So another thing to check into is, are your hormones out of whack? So reason 4, maybe you've been eating so little that it's causing your hormones to be disrupted. Reason 5, and this one kind of goes along with all of it, food is fuel for your body, and food is made up of a ton of different nutrients. And if you're eating too little, you may be nutrition or nutrient deficient. And so by that, you need to make sure that you are eating a well-rounded array of foods, from your fruits to your vegetables, your proteins, your carbs, your fats, all the different things, the macronutrients, which are fats, carbs, and proteins, and then the micronutrients, all the different things that you can find in a lot of the vegetables. And so at FitBody, obviously I own FitBody Bootcamp, and my wife is even one of them. She doesn't love vegetables, and we have a lot of clients that don't either. And so we do sell a powdered greens drink, and maybe that's something you want to check into. You can grab a powdered greens drink at really any nutrition shop. You can head into FitBody and grab one there if you'd like. But a powdered greens is going to help you get more of the micronutrients that maybe you're missing in your nutrition But if you're eating too little, there's a high probability that you are nutrition deficient or nutrient deficient in different nutrients that your body needs to perform at an optimal level. So reason number 5 that you may be gaining weight from eating too little is that you actually don't have the proper nutrients inside your body to function and burn fat properly. So then therefore you're actually gaining and storing all the different foods that you'd hope to be burning. Moving on, reason 6. And this happens more often than we think, and it's binge eating. If you are limiting your calorie intake so much, thinking that by just eating this little, maybe I'm not going to eat it all today, but maybe just a small dinner. And if you do that, if that's the mentality that you have, what's going to happen is you're going to eventually crave or want a certain food or food in general. And the next thing you know, you end up binge eating. And binge eating, especially when you've been eating so little, what can happen then is next thing you know, you binge ate. Well, now you ate so many calories, all this thing, and your body was already in that starvation mode. So what happens then is your body takes all that food that you just gave it and it starts storing it every single place that it can, because it's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know when you're going to feed me again. So I have to go ahead and store this as fat. And one kind of analogy that I like to use with this is the cupboard analogy, right? Or the fridge analogy. If you think about your kitchen, the cupboards and the fridge, right? The cupboards and the fridge are used to store ingredients or store food so that when you are going to make a meal or prepare a dish or prepare food, you can open your cupboard and you can pull out the different ingredients that you need, or open your fridge and pull out the different items that you need to make whatever item or dish or food that you're going to make. Well, if there was like a little magic fairy, and whenever you just snapped your fingers and this little magic fairy dropped off exactly what you needed at every meal, there would be no need to store these different items in the cupboards or in the fridge. And so what happens is that those items are stored there, right? And so that's what your body does, right? We don't have that magic fairy. So you have to be the magic fairy that feeds yourself the proper nutrition when you're hungry. Because if you don't, then what your body does, it starts to look at your love handles, your belly, your booty, all the areas that we don't want to store fat. It starts to look at those areas as cupboards or fridges. And what it does, it starts to store fat in all those areas, because it doesn't know when that little magic fairy is going to drop off its next meal. And so what it does is it stores all the fat into your belly, your love handles, your booty. And that is where the unwanted excess storage of fat comes from, because your body doesn't trust you that you're going to feed it what it needs when it wants it and when it needs it. And so therefore it's storing that fat as energy, because your body needs energy to function. And it's like, hey, I don't know when you're going to feed me, so I'm going to go ahead and take whatever you just binge ate and I'm going to store it in all these different cupboards and fridges of your body. Like I said, is the belly, the booty, and the love handles. I'm going to store it all in there. And then that way, when I need energy, I can just open that cupboard, your love handles, your belly, and use some of that stored fat as some energy. And don't worry, the next time you finally do eat again, I'll just restore it in there. And so you want to make sure that you are treating your body like that magic fairy would, and just delivering to your body what it needs when it needs it, so that you're not binge eating and then storing all that excess food as fat. And then the last tip 7, or reason 7 that you may be gaining weight from eating too little, is psychological stress. Nutrition. As we kicked off this episode, we talked about how nutrition and eating, there's just so many different ways to go about it and how overwhelming it can all be. Well, if you are eating too little and you are not getting the right nutrition or not getting the right nutrients, what can happen is it just causes this mental stress that you're trying to do all the right things. And what's happening is that mental stress is actually causing increased cortisol levels inside your body, which is then leading to you gaining in that midsection. And so if you are causing yourself to have more stress because you're not eating the foods that it needs to function properly, man, you have to start eating more and fueling your body. I need you to start realizing that food is fuel, and more times than not. And this isn't just a truth statement that's always true. There's always different case scenarios, and I never like to talk in absolutes. But in more cases than not, when we find our clients are having trouble with weight loss, or they've got more weight than they desire and they want to lose weight, more times than not, they're not eating enough. And that sounds so crazy. It sounds so backwards. Like, what do you mean I'm not eating enough? And so I like to talk about this. When we talked earlier about your basal metabolic rate, right? That kind of that line of which you burn these amount of calories at rest. When you can find out what your basal metabolic rate is, if you're not eating at least to your basal metabolic rate on a consistent basis, we're talking consistency here. It's not just one day or 1 week. You have to continually do this. But if you're not eating enough calories to at least hit your basal metabolic rate, you are putting yourself in a starvation mode. And then that is why when on the weekend you go out and you have a couple extra drinks, or on the weekend you go out and you order the appetizers, or you have the extra food that you normally wouldn't have, what happens then is your body stores that all as fat. So you might be thinking that you're doing so well throughout the whole week, eating just little all week long. But then on the weekends you go out and you overeat, well, your body just takes all that food and it stores it as fat. And so I need you to understand that you need to be eating more. And so if you're struggling to know, well, I don't know how much to eat, I would love, there's a lot of different ways to do it. And I don't have the best way to help you do it, just kind of listening here, but the best way to do it would be to get on an InBody, and which is a scanner that we use at FitBody to really find out what is your basal metabolic rate, how much fat do you have, how much muscle do you have, but get on the InBody and figure out like what is your basal metabolic rate. And then that's why we also at FitBody, we have a whole kind of next level of our program, which is our nutrition coaching level, or our nutrition app, where you can track what it is that you're eating. Our app is called FitBody Nutrition, and you can track your food and it can show you how many calories you're eating. Nutrition is a deep subject, a very deep subject. And if you want help on it on a personal level, you're probably going to need to have somebody be able to help you more than I can just help you right here while you're listening to this. But at least these 7 reasons are different reasons that you can maybe take into consideration and then kind of evaluate yourself. Man, do any of these 7 reasons kind of like strike a chord with me, that may be reasons that I'm gaining weight when I feel like I'm eating little, or I'm eating an amount that would cause me to lose weight and it's just not happening? So let's run over those 7 reasons again, with reason 1 being when you don't eat enough, it slows down your metabolism. Reason 2, when you don't eat enough, you lose your lean muscle. Reason 3, when you don't eat enough, it causes you to increase the amount of fat that you store. Number 4 is it can really cause a disruption in your hormones, which our hormones regulate and help us know when we're hungry and when we're satisfied and full from what we eat. Reason 5 is you could be nutrient deficient. You're not getting enough different or a variety of foods into your system to make sure that you have the proper amount of nutrients in your system. Reason 6, you start to have this craving, and next thing you know, you binge eat. And if you're binge eating and you're not getting enough, now everything that you just binge ate goes right into those cupboards, into your love handles, your belly, and your butt, and it's just stored as fat. And then our reason 7 is it can cause unneeded mental stress on you by not eating enough. Now, if you are struggling with your nutrition or you need help with your nutrition, I would love for you to click down below, and what I'm going to do is put a link where you can schedule a call with someone on my team. So I'll put a link down there where you can schedule a call. And if you want us to talk with you about your nutrition and how we can help you, we have a couple different programs. One is our Ultimate Transformation Program, which is a 6-week program, which is a nutrition-focused program. Or we have our ongoing Bootcamp Plus coaching, which is our FitBody Nutrition app where we can coach you on your nutrition. Or if you want to just get on the phone with someone on my team and just talk with them about this, I'll go ahead and I'll put that link in the description of this video so that you can go ahead and schedule a call with my team. We can talk to you about your nutrition and figure out if maybe you're doing all the right things from a fitness standpoint, but maybe your nutrition is what's causing you to not get the goals that you're after. But hey, know this. I believe in you. I know you have what it takes to achieve success. And if there's any way that I can help or my team can help, go ahead and click that link below, schedule a time to get on a call with us, and know that we are here to help you. Have an awesome day. Do me a favor, like and subscribe to our podcast so that you never miss an episode, and share it with a friend. I would love for you to get this word out there that, hey, maybe you're gaining weight from actually eating too little. Have an awesome day, and do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share this episode. Catch you on the next episode of the Fit and Healthy Sioux Falls Show. Bye, you guys. Peace.